Welcome everybody to Dragon Quest FM, where we talk about and obsess over Dragon Quest. I'm Austin,
I'm BJ.
and this week we have a listener request episode.
Hmm.
There was like a few of them, and while BJ's beating DQ7 Reimagined, it just seemed like a good idea
Yeah.
to tackle some of these like listener requests. The one today is regarding the Zenithia Trilogy remakes, which we don't know are coming like 100%, but everybody kind of wants to believe are coming and seem
Yep.
likely. And the question was, what would we like to see in the Zenithia Trilogy remake? So Dragon Quest 4, 5,
Hmm.
and 6. Um, I'm assuming this is an assumption on my part, but I'm assuming it means like in regards to like what we've seen them do with the Erdrick
Yeah.
Trilogy and DQ7 Reimagined so far.
Yeah.
Um, but it seemed like a cool one to bring up and discuss this week. I'll just throw it right away to you, put you on the spot here. What is something you're hoping to see?
Honestly, I hope that they make DQ4 a little more concise. That if they do it, I hope they streamline it a little bit because until you get your party together, I didn't
Yeah,
really like DQ4. That
really.
DQ4 felt like it's way too long up front with the individual stories before you get your party together.
Early parts of DQ4 are
Um,
really good. But
I
anyway,
don't care for them very much, and
but
so I
there
hope
it's
that they
so
shorten them and make and kind of bring it together a little quicker because the only one that I really liked was Tornico. That the others just seem to trudge on forever for me.
and Tornico's the one that I did not like that I felt like trudged on forever.
Really, I liked going into the
It,
dungeon and finding
it
stuff.
I mean, even the Tornico section is fine. But like, yeah, I like it, and I don't feel like any of it's overly long. Like you can, I think on the DS, if you're playing the DS version, I assume the same holds true for the mobile. I think you can probably get to chapter 5, the last chapter with your
Right.
party, in like 10 hours, 8 to 10 hours,
I
and then
think it
chapter
took me
5.
longer than that, but I can't remember exactly now. It was the DS version.
And then chapter 5, is like a good like 20 to 30
Yeah.
hours depending on how you play it. So like I don't know, man. I Okay, I have a question for you though.
Okay.
I know in the way Dragon Quest 4 exists right now that like it's by chapter and you kind of have to do it in that order because of interactions or things in the world,
Right.
happening. If
Yeah.
they changed it around so that you could tackle those stories any way you wanted to in any
Mm.
order before getting the party together, would that satisfy you at all?
Maybe so. Maybe it was just the order and I just wasn't interested. I don't know what it was, but it's four has always been the one outside of three that has been the hardest for me to get started with.
Hmm.
That four, I started it multiple times before I was able to even get through the Ragnar section. That I just didn't care for the beginnings of it, and
And
I
that
wanted
one's really short. That's like a 90-minute section.
it felt like such a slog to me every time
Yeah.
I've done it. And I've had to do it multiple times because I restarted from the mobile version whenever
So,
and that is part of it, I'm sure,
yeah.
but it just felt like the beginning of that game took forever and a day to get through and until I actually get to the party that I can do anything with.
Man, and I adore Dragon Quest 4.
Hmm.
Like out of the Zenithia trilogy, 4 might be my favorite, even
Okay.
though I think the popular answer is probably to go with 5. And I adore 5, and I really like
That's good.
6. A lot of people don't like 6, but I like 6. So like, but I think 4 might be my favorite. But yeah,
I think four is a really good game. Like
yeah.
overall, I just want the beginning to be consolidated a little bit, brought together a little bit quicker without nearly as much. I don't want to say it feels like filler because it's building out the characters, but I also feel like it could be shortened up and tightened a little bit.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, the longest of those sections, I guess the longest one is probably the Elena and Kirill
Hmm.
section. But you kind of do have like a party in that
Yeah.
section. So I think that helps it go by a little bit. Um, but that's probably the longest I would say. The Mina Maya stuff. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know. It's like my thing with it though is that like okay, even though like Mina and Maya I don't like so much as characters
Right,
compared to the rest of the cast. Like the Tornico section I just don't enjoy as much as some of the
right.
other
I
sections,
get
even
it.
though I like the character a lot more. But like my whole thing would be like what parts do you cut? And two, I'm of a persuasion that you should, when you do remakes, maybe add stuff rather than cutting out. So
Right,
like I think for my wish list when it comes to the Zenithia trilogy, for the most part, I'm like all of my stuff is probably like more and more and more rather
right.
than like take away.
And I don't know if they would actually do it. That's one of the things about the Zenithia trilogy, given that they're on the longer side to begin with. I'm not sure if they would, in general, I don't know if they would expand them that much without streamlining other parts.
Yeah, I don't know because I mean four and five I would say are both comparable in length to like DQ3.
Okay. Yeah.
Six is a little bit longer. Six though, while we're on the subject,
Six can be pretty long, though.
my number one thing, the number one thing I want is with a remake is for them to put in the stuff to Dragon Quest Six that didn't make it into the original game. Because
Oh,
we don't know what it was, but we know like Yuji Horii has gone on record and said, "Hey, some of these plot lines were underdeveloped. Some of these
uh-huh.
like connections I meant to make didn't happen." And he said he was busy with Chrono Trigger,
Yeah.
which is why he says he won't do another one. But like and I get that. Like I like DQ6 and I think it's pretty good overall, but it does feel slightly undercooked
Mm,
especially like with like Ashlyn and just some different things feel a
yeah.
little bit more undercooked than I would like them to be. And so for me, I'm like if you're going to remake Dragon Quest 6, like actually remake it, like
Yeah.
give me more. Like put in that stuff that
Right.
maybe
I
you
could
didn't
see
have
that.
time for back in the 90s. Like take the time to actually put it all in now. And like the the DS and I guess the mobile version too has fewer monsters
Hmm.
to recruit than
Yep.
the original one did. So I'm like throw those monsters back in.
Yeah, I get
Um
that. Like, that makes sense.
like throw in the monsters, throw in that cut content, and make Dragon Quest Six, 10 hours longer than it is
Yeah.
already. Like that would kind of be my dream, I think, for a DQ6
I
remake
mean,
for
and that's
sure.
the kind of thing that you want from a remake where it's almost a director's cut, where they get to finally make the game that they wanted to make initially and couldn't for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And whether that reason is the masterpiece Chrono Trigger that you don't appreciate enough, or if it's time constraints or something else, that being getting a director's cut of six basically like that would be awesome.
Here's my thing about Chrono Trigger. I know this is a tangent, but just I have to defend my opinion. All right, Chrono Trigger is not a bad game. Okay, It Chrono Trigger is the best JRPG. I put that in air quotes because a lot of people say it is. Chrono Trigger is the best JRPG the way that like McDonald's is like the best fast food hamburger place, where it's just like or like vanilla ice cream is the best flavor, where it's just like it's popular, it's the most popular for a reason, and it's because people like it, but it's like it just feels so like compared to other stuff that's out there.
I don't know, man. I just don't agree at all. I feel like it's so much more, especially when considering when it came out. It's so much
Oh,
more original compared to almost anything that was out at the market on the market at the time, and still right now holding my attention with its combat system better than most modern kinds of games.
and I hate Chrono Trigger's combat, which is probably a big factor for me.
Oh
But
man,
like,
yeah, that's
but I
ridiculous.
mean, even looking at the games that came out around the time Chrono Trigger came out, okay, let's look at some like franchise games. You had, I guess it was what like Dragon Quest V would have been the
Dragon Quest
DQ game,
Five, yeah, DQ
and
game
then
because it came out between, I believe,
and then
five and six,
Final Fantasy
six.
six. Final Fantasy six and Dragon Quest V are both better than Chrono Trigger, and
Not
and
even
I'll
like
sign my name
I
on that. Yeah,
Final
I'm not a
Fantasy
fan.
six is right there with it, but I don't think DQ five is as good as Chrono Trigger.
Dragon Quest V?
Yep,
What? No, man, you're
yeah, Chrono
insane.
Trigger is better than DQ five.
Oh man, I want to punch you in the mouth right now. Oh man, just hard disagree. Oh man, the story of Dragon Quest V though is like so good, and like you're saying that's so different from like anything else. Like I would argue that for Dragon Quest V, I mean, you
I mean,
start off as a
five does
kid and you
really
like grow up
fantastic
and you have
things
a
that are
family,
unique.
children, like games that there's like a pregnant lady in your party for a little while. Like, come on, that's like did not happen in video games. Um, and it hasn't much since then either,
I
really.
mean, to be fair about pregnant ladies, I mean that is not an untrue
But you know,
statement.
going from like, you know, a kid
Oh
have with your
yeah,
dad in the party to your wife and then your kids, like when has that ever happened before or since, you know?
and that's the kind
And
of thing that I'm hoping with five, if they remake it, that they actually add in even more of those things. Like they just expand
the
the
family.
family stuff. Yeah, where that would be my biggest want for five. Not even that it's lacking anything now, but I would hope that they expand five that way, like to include more of each of those eras and things we didn't get to see that they had to gloss over because you're covering so many generations.
Yeah. I Here's my controversial take on Dragon Quest V Remake, okay? And I don't expect this to happen, but this is if Austin, this is what we want, right?
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's not what we think is going to happen; it's what we want. I would actually love it if they came out with Dragon Quest V remake that looked maybe not exactly, but looked similar to like Dragon Quest Your Story, where it's like fully 3D and
Right.
more CGI
Okay.
looking. Like I actually really like the designs of
Yeah, I
your.
do too.
I like the movie.
I
I
like
like
the
your story.
movie. I know.
Yeah, and like I like the movie and I like the way the characters look in that movie. And it's kind of like the thing with the Erdrick Trilogy remake. It's like, yeah, that's really, really cool. But I'm a much bigger fan when remakes put like a new art style on
Mm,
something.
okay.
Like doing the whole doll thing for like DQ7. Like that's kind of cool, but
Yeah.
like let's take it even further. It's like the DS version, the mobile version, like yeah, it exists. And yeah, if you want the DS version, it's stupid expensive now, and I'm sorry. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like we had that already. So like if you're gonna remake it, like instead of just doing like updated graphics like that kind of
Yeah.
zone into like the nostalgia or do like HD 2D, which is kind of what I expect we would get if
Expect
they
them to
do it.
be. Yeah. I mean,
Um, Instead of doing that, like I would love for them to just like full 3D models, like you know, these kind of upscaled, more
oh,
CGI
it'd be great.
visuals, and that would be my dream for Dragon Quest V. And I think probably a lot of people would really disagree with me on it, but that's what I would want personally.
I don't know. I could really see it both ways in terms of what people would want. So y'all let us know in the comments of this or leave us a comment on Spotify or wherever you're listening to this that because I know that's one of the places you can leave comments. I don't think you can on Apple anymore or at all. But you can on YouTube. But I think that I've seen so much of the love of the doll look that was really impressive of seven. I could see them going like people wanting more of that, and rather than even doing a new engine for five. And I know that's your druthers, and get it, but I think that they have two engines now, and I think if they redid five, I'm thinking if they don't do the whole trilogy just as more of a an HD 2D remake of the first three, I think they would
Yeah.
go with the seven engine, especially five seems to be really good for the seven engine.
Yeah, I could see that.
I mean, I could
For
see it like that, but I mean, I understand wanting the more highly rendered look of it. Like that would be beautiful to have an actual full 3D uh game running around like that.
I think at this point, honestly, like I'm just burned out on HD 2D. It was never my
I get it.
favorite. It was never my favorite thing to begin with, but it's just kind of like, with the exception of, I guess, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I guess now DQ7, but like otherwise, Square Enix remakes have just really leaned hard into the HD 2D thing. And I get it, much like Chrono Trigger and McDonald's and Vanilla Ice Cream. It's something that people love, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know. It seems like the most blandest way to do a remake at this point.
Hmm.
Most blandest. Yes, I
Most
said most
blandest.
blandest, and I stick by it because that's exactly what it is. It is the most blandest
Blandest.
way,
Of
most
all of
blandest
them,
of ways
it is the
to do
most
it.
of the blandest. You
But
take the
really,
blandest of them, and then this is the most
the most
blandest of them.
yes, yes. And so like, but like, I mean, really, and I'm not trying to just knock it because
Right,
it's fine, and but it's kind of like it does feel overdone at this point, but it does kind of feel like okay, we have these retro graphics. So like how can we do a remake, but let's just 3D it up a little bit in places.
right.
And it's just kind of like I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of that. Where I would like to see more like real true remakes. Not necessarily like the Final Fantasy VII remake route of all of that, but and I feel like I might
Yeah.
get some hate on this one too, but more like what like the Resident Evil games have done, right? You have like Resi 1 on PS1, and then you have like Resident Evil. I think all of them are made have been remade at this point
I
up to
think so.
four. And like there's a it's all still just one game, but like it looks completely new. It has updated
Right.
graphics and everything like that. Like that's what I want remakes to be. I want them to actually be like remakes rather than HD 2D sometimes comes across as like a lazy kind of like half-hearted
I mean, I
don't
can
want to
see
say
that.
cash grab, but almost like cash grab for some of these games. Not necessarily Dragon Quest, but just in HD 2D in general, where it's just kind of like, oh, let's remake this, but let's not put too much effort into
Yeah,
it.
we and I if I actually had my druthers
Druthers.
on DQ5 and 6, and for some reason DQ4 is separate in my mind than DQ5 and 6. I see 4 as an HD2D remake. Like the way I'm picturing these. Not
Oh,
even
okay.
that they're trilogy. Like for some reason 4 seems like it's going to be an HD2D remake in my mind. But 5 and 6, what I would truly love more than anything is just a hand-drawn 2D JRPG that looks like the originals. That you took that, what the top down traditional JRPG look that you had on the Super Nintendo, and it was all redone, not pixel art, but hand drawn fluid animation, Toriyama style sprites is
Yeah,
what
that
I
could
would
look cool.
have more than anything. Like if I could play a DQ6 that was just a straight upgrade from the original on the Super Nintendo would be absolute like peak for me. Like if
Hmm.
they were going to do it. Not like the pixel remasters for the Final Fantasy games, which I love. I love playing them. Not like the pixelated it's not pixelated, just the versions, I guess, on the Switch and mobile that they did, the Switch ones,
Hmm.
where it's new sprites. But like, I would love a smooth, hand drawn, like actually beautiful, take the time and create animations for this rather than the traditional like retro style, like a new RPG that mirrors the old ones. Like I
I gotcha.
would absolutely adore that. But I'm also one of the like 8 people in the world who liked the remaster that they did of Final Fantasy VI on mobile when they gave them all new sprites and they
Yeah,
did like a smoother sprite.
I
Like I
played that
liked
version.
that version of it.
I like that
Like
version fine.
I think the animations and stuff on that are cool. And obviously, a couple of steps beyond that, we're on
Yeah.
PS5 now, not like an iPhone 3, iPhone 3G or something, whatever that was.
Yeah.
But like I think it was iPhone 5 actually. But it's like
I think
that's
it
what
was
I
five.
would
Yeah.
prefer is something like that with redone graphics of the original rather than having an HD 2D remake where
Mhm.
they do the pixelated sprites over a rendered background.
Yeah, I don't know. My thing with four too is like most of the cast has been in Heroes, and really for five and to some extent six as
Mhm.
well. But
Yeah,
like, so you have kind of upscaled character models already. The cast of four were in Monsters 3
yeah,
just kind of recently, and I think we're a step down from what we saw, PS4 Heroes and stuff like that.
right.
But still, like I would like to see something like that that's more modern
I get it.
looking for them. And and really it comes down to just the fact that like like I've played those other games before. Like
Mm,
most cases more than once. And so
right.
like I want something fresh rather than just like a new coat of paint on something old. Like I
Okay.
would like a real true remake. And like I I don't know. I saw. this is loosely related, but like I saw a thing on, um, I saw a thing yesterday, the day before we were recording this at least, that said that 77% of people who played FF7 Rebirth were over the age of 30, and that Square Enix was like struggling to get like younger and a younger audience
And
to
this is
play their games.
Rebirth, not
It,
Remake, the second one.
it's Rebirth, yeah. Which makes sense because a lot of
Right.
people that are playing Remake and Rebirth are the people that grew up playing 7.
Right.
And to me that's kind of like my strategy for wanting these things with like a Zenithia remake
Hmm.
is that like I think at the end of the day like they're the people who are going to buy these remakes, you're going to bring in new fans of course because you
Of
always do.
course.
But I think the majority of people are going to be people who played these games back in the 90s or back in the 2009 or
Yeah.
2018 or whenever, but they've played them before and they know what those all those games are like already
Right.
and want something new but still want those kind of like characters and story.
Mm.
And like it's always a delicate like line to walk, I feel like,
Oh,
because
for
you want to
sure.
like you don't want to completely like erase everything, but like you also don't want to you can't please everybody, you know?
Yeah.
I think like getting away from kind of like the graphics discussion of it, I would say that in terms of like I would love to see the difficulty settings from DQ7 return because those are just fantastic.
They're
Where
great. Being able to customize it so much,
yeah.
like down to the granular level of which system you want more or less points from. It's like it's exactly what a difficulty system needs to be.
And like I don't even have any suggestions for how they should tweak it. I'm just like just put that in like the Zenithia games and
Yep.
I think we're good. Like
Hundo P.
I do hope that they follow Seven's strategy though and add in like cinematics. I liked that
Oh,
in Dragon Quest 7 because like the OG DQ7, Dragon Warrior 7, I guess over here, like on PS1, like that was like they had some kind of cinematics in
yeah.
that game. I mean, and I would like to see cinematics the way they put them in 7 Reimagined. Like I would like them to have those kind of cutscenes. And
Hmm.
part of that is just, I think, nostalgia. Like growing up,
Right.
like I can remember being a kid and like my favorite thing, like, I mean, it really applies to many of these, but I'll use like Final Fantasy 9 or even 10 as an example where like you get to a spot where there's like a noticeable uptick in graphics and
Right.
and the
Yes.
music is swelling and there's all this stuff and like I'm thinking like Final Fantasy 9 with the airship as it's leaving Dolly and like the
Uh-huh.
Black Mage Waltz is like chasing after it.
Yep.
Like that was so cool. And like Legend of Dragoon had voice acting in its cinematics on PS1. So it was
Which
like
is
it
insane
went
for PS1.
so like like there's the epic like Dragon War cinematic after you get through the ghost ship on disc 2 and it's like very action packed and there's voice acting and like I kept a save on my PS1 from right before the fighting the captain and the skeletons on the ghost
Okay.
ship and would sometimes go back and just beat it to get to see that cinematic because again,
Oh,
it was
because you don't have
before
YouTube to be able to
yeah,
look them up. Like you have to
exactly.
have. I had cinematics of from Final Fantasy VII, not saved like that, but a disc that came with Ultra Game Players that
Uh-huh.
had cinematics from Final Fantasy VII that I put in my computer and watched in the little tiny video that you could fit on the CD that came with magazines back in the 90s, and like you couldn't look at them any other way. Like you
Yeah.
had to go a roundabout way. So that's awesome that you had it saved, like to beat that boss and go back and rewatch that.
And I would do that. I also had it. I remember when Final Fantasy X came out. Like I can remember beating Final Fantasy X like 20 times because different friends would come over to my house and be like, "Oh, you got to check out the ending of this game." Like
Right.
we called him Titus because we didn't know that
Yeah.
Titus was his name
Yep.
yet. But I was like, "Titus is like a dream. It's gonna blow your mind, man." And I would like
Yep.
and you'd go through and like and beat FF10, and then
Yep.
my friend that was over, chilling in my room would be like, "What?" And like I don't know. So I always I miss that like era of games where it would like cut in and have cinematics. And
Right. Yeah.
Dragon Quest 11 had them. You don't notice them as much because of how far we've come along.
With
But like
graphics. And DQ7 has them and you tell a little bit.
Reimagine, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
and like
reimagined.
Reimagine has them. Dragon Quest 11 had them, and so like I would really hope that Zenithia Trilogy games would have those as well because it's just something that I really like seeing in my games,
Yep.
and I miss that jump in graphics. Like
Yeah.
if they are going with like an older style for these, like just throw in cinematics and it would make
Yeah.
me happier. Even if you do like HD 2D, but throw in some cinematic cutscenes
Hmm.
like that, like I think I would really like it.
And one of my favorite games, period, is Xenogears on the
Uh-huh.
PS1. And one of the things that was really amazing about it was that it had beautiful graphics for the PS1. And like you're going through this already beautiful game, and then you get to a cutscene and it's actual anime that it's cut through, and it's not a rendered scene like it is in Final Fantasy 7 or DQ7. It's got this full anime sequence that is just mind blowing, especially at the time. There'd never been one like that, as far as I know.
Hmm.
And so that's the kind of thing that I would love for a Zenithia trilogy. Not so
Hmm.
much the pre rendered cutscenes, but have them look like a Dragon Ball cartoon. Have them look
That would be cool.
like the animation style that they're based on.
Kind of
And
like what like Tales of games, like set
yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, a lot
Tales
like
of
the
games
Tales of games.
have the anime cutscenes. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, where something like that I think would work really well for Zenithia, where
that would be cool.
I'm I know that there is a cost differential in using an in-game engine versus having a different engine to do your cinematics. And I understand from a business perspective on why so many games just go ahead and animate using their game engine for
Hmm.
these cutscenes and other areas, rather than cutting to an all new like rendered engine, different animation. But it's so much better. Like in terms of like you were talking about, like as far as us as consumers, it's better, I think, when it changes just a little bit into a more cinema
Cinematic.
cinematic. Yep, I was trying to say cinematographic, and I'm like, that's not the word, and my brain would not let me say cinematic. But
Cinematic.
when the cinematic changes into a cinematic sequence, it I think is better.
Yeah.
I could see that definitely being something that you would want out of the Zenithia trilogy because it is way more epic in scale than DQ1 through 3 is in terms of the stuff that you would get from that kind of cinematic
Yeah. And I
kind
mean,
of cutscene.
yeah. I think honestly, like going on with some other features that, exist in the recent remakes, I could honestly take or leave voice acting.
Hmm.
I know a lot of people get excited about it, but like I know you and I both talked about how like we both of us we read faster than they speak, so we're
Yeah,
just like skipping through it.
skip
And
through it. I get like half a sentence or a sentence before I've read the entire thing and go on to the next one.
and that's something that when games don't have that I really miss.
Hmm.
Like I've been playing the Indiana Jones game on PS5, Indiana Jones and the Great
Right,
Circle, and like there's times where you just have to sit there and kind of, and it's a more cinematic game in general, but
right.
still, like there's sometimes when they're talking and I'm just like, okay, like let's talk a little faster, people. And so I do like I could really take or leave that because I don't it doesn't really
Hmm.
add much to my personal experience
Right.
of the game. Um, I that being said, having it in if you do have cinematics like we're talking about, I think that you do have to have it. That's been this super weird thing about like the most recent Pokemon games, especially like
Oh
Legend
yeah.
ZA, is like Legend ZA has like some more cinematic cutscenes and like the
Okay.
subtitles aren't like speech bubbles but are just like down at the bottom
Oh, okay.
and you have the music swelling, but then you have the characters and they're just like moving their mouths and not
Oh.
actually saying anything. And it's like getting to a point where like it's really jarring and it's just like you're a billion-dollar company, Pokemon. Like you can't have these people like talk for 30 seconds in this cutscene. Like what's wrong with you?
I
And like
wonder
it
if for ZA specifically, if it was limitations on Switch cartridge, if it was space reasons why they didn't do it, but I don't
no,
know because Switch
dude,
cartridges are small.
No, dude, you can fit all of The Witcher 3 on a Switch cartridge. You
That's
can
true.
put some
You
voice
did.
acting
You did.
in Legends EA.
That's
Like
fair. That
you
is
can fit
perfectly fair.
Skyrim
I will.
on a cartridge. Like no, there is no excuse for it other than just I assume laziness. Um, but yeah, I'm not super big with that. For other like quality of life things that we've gotten, like I think for the most part we've tackled them. I know we mentioned in a previous episode that like the markers have been a really like touchy
Yeah,
point for people.
controversial for
Um,
a lot of folks.
People liked that you could toggle them on or off in the Erdrick Trilogy. People were mad that they weren't optional in 7.
Mhm.
Um, it really doesn't bother me, to be honest, seeing them in a game. Like, again, go back to Indiana Jones. Like, Indiana Jones always has one, but you still kind of have to figure some stuff out. There's parts in
Right.
7 that you still have to figure things out, even though the
Yep.
marker is there. And so, like, it doesn't irritate me the way it seems to irritate some people. I do think anytime that you enable like the ability to like toggle something on or off in the game, I think it's a win-win because then it
Hmm.
pleases everybody. People who don't
Right.
want it can turn it off. People who do want it can turn it on. Like whether it's God mode, whether it's these markers, whether it's whatever.
Whether it's
And
the
so,
yellow paint that shows you climb up a wall, that I
yeah.
don't know if you remember that controversy
Oh,
from
yeah.
years ago. Yeah, where it's
For
like
sure. From
I
like,
was just like where people were complaining so much about specifically yellow paint.
yeah.
It yeah, man.
Um, yeah. And so for me, I'm just like, I guess I would say include it, but let you like, have it where you can turn it on or off, just like please people.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
yeah,
if there's a way within the engine to make a toggle, it's always better to be able to turn it on or off.
yeah. So anyway, like BJ said, let us know what you guys think for this. You can comment on YouTube or Spotify and let us know what you would hope to see in a Zenithia remake. What you hope is not in a Zenithia remake that we would like,
Right.
that you totally disagree with. Why I am wrong with Chrono Trigger, or why BJ's wrong about Chrono Trigger, or
I mean,
McDonald's. Um, McDonald's is just out here catching strays because
it
I don't like
is.
Chrono Trigger as much as most people. But yeah, let us know your opinions. We'd really appreciate it. BJ mentioned Apple that you can't comment on Apple Podcasts yet, which is true. But I did want to give a quick shout out to the person who reviewed our podcast. Um, like,
Like last
ne
week was it? When I
yeah, a week or two ago. Like, neither one of us really check reviews all that often. Um,
even though they
and but
really help people
they
find
they
us,
they
like
really help, and we
we
appreciate them when we see them.
yes,
It's just that we don't like compulsively like refresh or whatever and check them every week. But anyway, we read that one. It like made our day.
it
It was
did.
like it really did like made both of our days. So thank you so much. Anybody else who would like to leave a nice review of our podcast, please do. It's great for helping other people like find us and listen to us. It also makes the two of us really happy. And like not even hyperbole at all. This is not an exaggeration, but like there's definitely been some times where I'm just like, oh man, like having no motivation to record the podcast, and
Right.
then just randomly we'll get like a new patron that day, or like somebody leaves us a nice review of the
Yeah.
podcast, and then it's just like that's enough to carry me for the next like 300 days.
Yeah. I mean, it really is where we've been doing this since I think 2018, something along those lines,
2019.
2019.
Yeah, weird.
And like so we've done this a great deal. And so it's become part of the routine, but at the same time, it's like, all right, we're gonna do this again today. And then we get a review like the one that was on there last week talking so positively about it. It's like, oh, it's worth it to be able to do that, to take the time and be able to hang out with you guys. So it's really nice. So thank you very much for doing that.
Yeah, for sure. I was trying to pull up their, I don't remember their username, and I was gonna give them a shout out. I've got to pull it up really quick. It is Gex of Tubs, which is a good username. I don't know
Yep.
what it means, but
Gex
I
of
like it.
Tubs. Yep.
Gex of Tubs. So thank you. But I mean,
Yep.
and thank you to everybody who's, reviewed our podcast. We really appreciate it. But if you want to talk to us, we're on Twitter and Blue Sky at Dragon Quest FM. I am at those places personally at Dragon Quaston. And you can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please do, because we need it.
We do.
It is youtube.com/at
At.
DQFM.
Yep. at DQ7. And you can find us, you can find me on Instagram at bjk.games and Blue Sky at bjkgames.com. And you can also find us on Patreon at patreon.com/DragonQuestFM if you'd like to support the podcast. That'd be fantastic.
Yeah. Thanks everybody, and we'll see y'all next week.
Yep. Bye, everybody.
Bye.